Welcome to Greenball. I'm Marie Crowe. In this episode, we are delighted this week to chat with Orla Prendergast, who was named in the team of the Women's T20 World Cup in February. In our segment, Answer Me This, we chat to former Ireland international and current Leinster Lightning head coach Nigel Jones. But first, it's hello to our reporter Sean Hussey with the latest Irish cricket news, starting with the conclusion to the first test against Sri Lanka. Sean, how are you? Tell us about how that first test went.
I'm good, thanks, Marie. How are you?
Good, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to get you to give me a wrap of the test.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was a difficult couple of days in Galle and Sri Lanka for the Irish men's side. Searing heat, and they just couldn't really get themselves into the test match. Sri Lanka won the toss on the opening day and piled on the runs thanks to a huge second wicket partnership between Cara Rutna, the captain, and Kusal Mendez, who both made big centuries. So on that opening day, Sri Lanka had over 384 runs, and it was always going to be difficult for Ireland to find a way back into the test match. It was a long haul for the Irish bowlers. And in the end, Dinesh Chandimal and Samarawickrama both made hundreds as well. So Sri Lanka put up over 590 runs, and Ireland were always going to find it difficult when they went to bat, and really they couldn't really find a way of getting going. Sri Lanka were all over them, and in the end, it was a heavy defeat for Ireland, but. You're coming up against the class and the quality of that Sri Lanka side. They beat Australia at home last year. They've kind of found a way in the last few years of emerging again with some high quality cricketers, and it was difficult for Ireland to cope with it. But definitely they'll be looking forward to the second Test match and trying to find a way of getting themselves into the game, because right from the start Sri Lanka were high quality and Ireland found it very difficult. So there's no doubt Ireland will be looking to improve on that second Test match. Andy Balbirnie gave a very honest assessment after the opening game, and you can hear it now.
That you can take from this game for the second Test match?
We got a couple of more days rest and recovery and train. We can get used to these conditions. But certainly, our bowlers got some miles in the legs. It was a challenging first innings. It was a big toss to win, even though I'm not saying we would have got 600, but it was certainly the nicest time to bat over the course of the Test match, in my opinion. But yeah, look, I can't be critical of the players. They're really trying their hardest to be competitive at this level, but it's just very difficult when you come up against a team who in their own conditions are as good as anyone. So we will try again in the next test, and hopefully we can put in performances we can be proud of.
You talked about not being having first class cricket back in Ireland. Is there any way that how do you think that you can sort of bridge the gap between playing white ball cricket and this 25 years?
Sorry, what? So just say that again?
You don't have first class
in
Ireland. So how do you go about bridging the gap between first and white ball cricket?
We're at a stage where our focus is white ball cricket. Our home domestic structure is based around white ball cricket, so that's where a lot of our players have learnt their craft, learnt their skill. It's not like other nations where they're brought up on first class cricket and that's where they learn their skill. So we've got to find, in my opinion, I think we've probably got to find a way to harness our skills that we've learned playing 50 over cricket and bring them onto the Test arena. I don't know what that looks like. We don't have a number of Test matches where we can plan out a structure and a first class structure where we can plan out how players get innings and players get big knocks. So we're going to have to do it differently to other Test nations, and it's going to be difficult, and we're going to have Test matches like this, but as long as guys are going out and playing a certain way, and we're not putting expectations on players, we just want them to express themselves and enjoy this challenge, because it is tough and it's only going to get tougher.
So then just ahead of Test 2, Paul Stirling is going to join the squad as well, Sean.
Yeah, and I think that might give them an added boost. I mean, it's been a very long tour for some of these Irish players. It started back in Bangladesh on the 18th of March. So there definitely is some tired bodies there, and maybe Paul Stirling can add a lot of experience from his time at Middlesex playing first class cricket and a couple of Test matches he has played. So I'd imagine he might come into the team and maybe give them a bit of a boost and help Andy Balbirnie and Gary Wilson maybe try and pick up the players ahead of the second Test match at the same venue, and the challenge doesn't get any easier. But I'm sure the Irish lads will be looking to get back into the whites and try and put on an improved performance.
Okay, Sean, let's have a look ahead to the summer, because there's a huge one to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And the games are coming thick and fast again. First up for the Irish men's side after their tour of the subcontinent, they'll be going to Chelmsford to take on Bangladesh in the final games of the Cricket World Cup Super League, and with World Cup qualification potentially there for Ireland. I mean, they're going to have to be near perfect to win 3 games to try and steal that last qualifying spot off South Africa. Bangladesh already have their place secured for the World Cup later this year in India, and they're bringing over a high quality squad as expected. Taman Iqbal captains the side, but some of the players we saw in the Test match, Lytton Das, Shakib Al Hasan, Mustafi Rahman are all there. So it's not going to be an easy task for Ireland to win those 3 games, but I'm sure they'll be looking, especially with the summer coming up with India and the likes coming, that to get a chance of qualifying for the World Cup.
Yeah, but it's on to the whites again then for the Lord's Test too.
Yeah, and I think it'll be another special occasion. I mean, we had it in 2019, and I know a big Irish crowd will be over in Lords, and it's a special. Anytime you go to Lords, it's a special occasion. But to see an Irish side play Test cricket there, especially after the opening day we had in that 2019 Test match. But again, England are a side on the up. They're really playing incredible Test cricket under Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes. But I'm sure the Irish players again will feed off the historic nature of the game, and I know that there's a huge Irish crowd that they're going to be over there.
Yeah, and then later in August, there'll be more cricket, a major occasion. The India men return, this time for 3 T20Is at Malahide. Tickets are going on sale next month, and I'd imagine they're going to go pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever India come to town, it's the biggest show around. As you said, 3 T20s this time. It's the 3rd time they've come over in 5 years. So there's obviously a part of them who want to come over and experience it. There's a huge Indian crowd here that will follow them. They'll follow them all over the world. And Ireland ran them really close last year, and it's a part of the game in T20 cricket where the Irish side is growing. And who knows, there could be a slice of history there in the summer.
And then in between, the men's squad have potentially 2 World Cup qualifying campaigns to play. Busy times, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Ireland don't win that series against Bangladesh 3-0, they will go into the 50 over qualifying for the World Cup, which will be in Zimbabwe. 2 spaces up for grabs with high quality sides in there. Sri Lanka will be in there. So it's not going to be easy. Ireland, the last time at the World Cup was 2015, missed out on the 2019 World Cup, and there's a huge carrot there for some of those players. Mark Adair, guys like this Harry Tector who haven't played in a cricket 50 over World Cup. It's not going to be easy out in Zimbabwe, but hopefully Ireland will be able to navigate that, and then there'll be the T20 qualifier with Europe, which I think Ireland will be really confident of getting through, which will qualify them for the prelim of the next T20 World Cup, and that's in Scotland in July. But there's 2 places up for grabs there, so you do think Ireland and Scotland are the leading candidates to get those 2 places. So the 50 over World Cup, I'm sure the qualifiers for that in Zimbabwe will sure have Heinrich Milan's focus.
It's a big summer as well for the Ireland women's squad. They have a 6-match tour to the Caribbean in June, then home to host the world champions Australia at Clontarf in July, followed by a tour to the Netherlands in August. And those tickets for the Clontarf matches are on sale in May. They're going to be so busy, Sean.
Yeah, busy time for the Irish women's side as well. The Tour of the Caribbean will be very interesting. If people remember the World Cup in South Africa earlier this year, Ireland ran them extremely close. Not for a bit of brilliance from Hayley Matthews with a 60 not out, to chase down 140. Would have stopped Ireland from a famous win. So I think they'll go over there with real confidence. Then, as you say, Australia coming to Clontarf in July, the world champions, that's post the women's Ashes as well. We might get to see a return to Ireland of Kim Garth as well, who's been playing cricket for Australia now. So it's very interesting in that regard. And then I think the tour to the Netherlands in August, we might see again a more experimental side. The Netherlands didn't qualify for the World Cup. Ireland will feel like they might give a couple of chances to newer players coming through that maybe impress on the domestic scene. And I think it's a summer of real interest for Ed Joyce and the Irish women's side. Different challenges there, a big tour to the Caribbean, hosting the best side in the world, and then maybe a couple of opportunities for fringe players against the Netherlands to stake a claim and get a taste of international cricket. And
then finally, we're going to see some great domestic action as well.
Yeah, it's that time of the year when training has begun for those sides. Squads will be announced, I'm sure, soon. I think the Super Series gets underway right at the start of May. So there's plenty to mull over for those players. And as you said, there's so much cricket available for these players now that if they impress, have a good start to the domestic campaigns, they'll be looking to get themselves into the international fold. And it's proven the last couple of years, the domestic games, both in the women's side and the men's side, they're producing high quality international players now. So it's definitely an avenue now if you're an aspiring international cricketer, that if you get off to a good start in the domestic season at the start of the year, that you can push yourself for international honours later in the summer. And those games are, I look forward to them to be live streamed again. It's great to be involved in that. And, I'm sure Irish fans will be looking forward to the start of that and seeing the best of Irish cricket up against each other on a regular basis.
Now, I am delighted to say that Orla Prendergast, Ireland cricketer, joins us now for a catch-up. How are you, Orla?
All good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Are you getting a bit of downtime, or are you still flat out with college and training and everything?
Yeah, no, all go at the moment. Lots of training, lots of gym work, getting ready in the upcoming season, and college is busy this time of year, of course, exams, and my dissertation is due in the next 2 weeks, so it's definitely all good.
I love the way when I speak to athletes, they're always doing not just one thing, usually about 10 things, and it's always coming together at the same time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It feels like there's not really a spare second at the moment, to be honest. Yeah, it's completely all go, but hopefully, probably this time next month, hopefully it'll be a lot calmer and just have cricket to focus on.
So your time management skills must be very good.
Yeah, they've taken a lot of work over the years. Still probably have a little bit to go in that respect, but no, yeah, definitely is important.
I just want to take a little bit of a trip down memory lane with you, if you don't mind, Orla, and just about your first memories of playing sport, and what was it that you were interested in first?
Yeah, so I think my first memories playing sport is definitely back in our back garden or on our road out the front of my brother's. Probably playing whatever I could, really. It was usually football was the main one, and then the cricket bats would come out in the plastic stumps during summer. So yeah, I suppose when I look back at my childhood, definitely some of my fondest memories are playing with my brothers, probably getting thrown around a little bit in the back garden. But yeah, it's probably the first thing that comes to mind.
Are they sporty now still?
Yeah, Joe, my middle older brother, plays for Pembroke, and Connor plays a lot of football. So they are, yeah.
So you always had good opponents then when you were growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they kind of ingrained that competitive streak in me that I definitely still haven't lost. So yeah, I can thank them for that, I suppose.
So when you were young, what was your thinking on sport, and did you see a pathway there where you could possibly have some sort of a career in it?
To be honest, not really. I think I just absolutely loved sport. Football was definitely the main kind of focus growing up, and I suppose I was on Irish teams growing up, but I'd never really thought that I'd be in the position I am now. I was playing cricket professionally. Definitely was never really something I thought of as a possibility, and something I'm massively grateful for, of course. So yeah, it's a weird one that I never really kind of thought could happen, but it's absolutely amazing that it has, and I'm so thankful.
It must also be amazing that you're in this position and you're kind of looking at the girls that aren't that much younger than you but are coming through, and there's a really defined pathway now for them. They can actually look at somebody like you who is a few years older than them and say, well, I can go on and become a professional cricketer or footballer or whatever it is they want to in this country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's huge. I think women's sport has grown exponentially in the last few years, which is amazing to see. And cricket specifically, with contracts coming in, it's great. And I suppose when I was 16, 17, I definitely never thought that I would kind of make a proper living out of cricket. So I suppose if I could go back to that age now and I had players on professional contracts to look up to, it definitely, yeah, it's amazing for them to be able to see and to know that there is a good living to be made.
You must have been good at football as well, though.
Yeah, the most football I play these days is in the warm up, which is always fun. But yeah, no, I think looking back, I loved it. But I think cricket just kind of came in at a time where I wasn't too sure what kind of path I wanted to take, and I just kind of took the plunge of cricket. Really, there was a few girls. I think it was Claire Shillington and Kathy Murphy said to me in Pembroke. They're like, would you not just give it a proper go for summer, join the Irish team, go on a few tours and see how you like it? And yeah, just absolutely loved it. It was such a nice team environment. And yeah, I never really looked back, to be honest.
You were with Peamount?
Yeah, I was until under 17s.
What position?
I was a centre mid. So yeah, a lot of running in that role.
The athleticism came in handy then?
Yeah, definitely. I think, growing up, I think playing football, I played a lot of hockey too. So playing sports like that definitely have helped my agility and such in the field.
So tell me about then maybe when you first realised that you had a bit of a talent for cricket and your kind of first forays into getting a little bit serious.
Yeah, I think there's of course Malvern trips growing up that I think a lot of youth players will recognise as fond memories. With kind of Leinster under 13s, Leinster under 15s. And then I think it was the Irish 15s and Irish 17s I joined. And I suppose those were that's when you're playing for Ireland. So it seems like it's a bit of a bigger deal and it's kind of getting a bit more serious. So I suppose the Irish 17s, when we had a series against Scotland, I think I probably look back at that series as one that I was kind of like, oh wow, like this, like I love doing this, love playing for Ireland. And yeah, I really enjoyed that series.
Am I right in saying that you started off playing left-handed, so you didn't have the smoothest start?
Yeah, no, we actually had this conversation in my household recently when I got home from the World Cup. My brothers were like, yeah, no, we remember that. My dad had no recollection of me playing left-handed and I was blaming him for that because it absolutely wasn't my fault. But yeah, no, definitely wasn't a smooth start.
So who recognised it? How did you write that?
I think I was just really bad, to be honest. And they were going, what's the problem here? Like, why can't you get it? Because my dad is left-handed and my eldest brother Connor is left-handed. So there is genes there, but I certainly didn't by the way I was playing.
Well, I'm glad that that somebody figured it out pretty quickly anyway. Yeah. So you're lucky enough to be one of those people who are on a contract. So you do part-time during college and then full-time during the summer. What's that like for you?
Yeah, it's great. So during college semesters, it's kind of college's priority. You go to all your lectures and then you train in and around it when you can. And coaching staff are very accommodating with that. And it's kind of the best of both worlds, to be honest. You get to get your degree and work on cricket a lot and really improve your game. And then during summer, I am full-time. So it's just cricket all day, every day, which is great. And yeah, so it's been a very welcome investment and I'm absolutely loving the opportunity.
And just from like a development point of view, purely from a player development point of view, what has that meant for your game?
Yeah, definitely has been huge for me. I think if I look back, I received my first part-time contract in 2020, I believe, or 2021. And when I look back, kind of that 2-year gap, it's definitely made such a difference. Yeah, I think when I kind of compare my game, it's been a massive change, and yeah, I'm very grateful.
In what ways? What have you noticed about yourself that's different from when you weren't a professional?
I think physically, definitely. Spend a lot of time in the gym these days. So it's, a lot there. I've gotten a lot stronger, a lot quicker. And Greg has been great with us. And then I think batting wise, I've had a few injuries. So it's been a lot of focus on my batting, but it definitely seems to have come on a lot.
And in terms then of the bigger picture, when you see that Cricket Ireland is investing so much in women's cricket, what does that signify to you and to their commitment to women's cricket?
Yeah, it's amazing to see, absolutely. I suppose it just shows a lot of confidence in us and that they are willing to invest and really try and make us into a formidable side. And it's made a huge difference. The amount we've improved and the kind of performances we've put in the last 12 months. It's great to have, really, for Cricket Ireland, and we're all very grateful for it.
You're still so young. Do you feel you're almost learning on the job? Is that probably the right way to put it?
Yeah, definitely. I think at times I still feel very inexperienced, for sure. Learning on the job is probably a good way to put it. But Yeah, I suppose I'm nearly 21, so and it's a young squad, definitely. So I think there's kind of, I'm by no means one of the youngest. So it's kind of a weird one in that way, I suppose. It's a weird one where I'm young, but I'm one of the more experienced-ish players, but I'm still definitely inexperienced in the way I feel. So it's kind of a juggling act at times.
You have been commended though for the composure that you're able to show. Is that something that you've always had or something that you work on?
I think it's probably something I've always had growing up. Yeah, I think I'm generally just a very relaxed and kind of laid back person. I think that's something my teammates would definitely say about me. So I think, yeah, it's probably something I've always had. I'm not really much of an overthinker. I kind of just take every day as it comes. And yeah, I try not to dwell on the bad days too much and just move on.
There's people that would pay a lot of money for someone to be able to teach them how to do that, you know? It's a great thing. It's a great skill to have in your locker, I think, especially when you're at elite level and things. There's so many ups and downs. Just in terms then of your relationship with Ed Joyce, your head coach, how have you found working with somebody of his stature?
Yeah, incredible. He's an absolutely outstanding head coach and an even better batting coach. I think the improvements I've made in my game in the last kind of 12 to 18 months, specifically batting wise, I can definitely thank him a huge amount for. Yeah, amazing to have a coach like him help us day in, day out. And I think our general batting improvements in the last while can definitely be seen. The way we go about it and kind of our shot range, such like things. So yeah, no, absolutely love working with Ed.
Let's have a minute just to reflect on the T20 World Cup. Overall, a disappointing enough affair for Ireland. But for you, Orla, and I know when it comes to personal achievements, it's hard to look past the team performance. But to be named in the 12-player team of the tournament and also that 61 against the West Indies, how do you look back on it now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I look back on it with very fond memories. 100%. I think that game against West Indies, definitely with fond memories. I wasn't expecting to score a half century or anything like that, so definitely was a great day personally. And yeah, of course, to be named in team of the tournament is another great honour. I'm with some good company there, so it's amazing to be named alongside some players like that. But yeah, I think when I look back, definitely it is the team performances and the lack of our first run of World Cup that's kind of the main thing that stands out. So there's still disappointment there, but I think we showed a huge amount of promise and our competitiveness, and of course that win against Australia warming up. There's definite positives there that we can take. So yeah, it was a great experience and absolutely looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, and I think as well, you mentioned how young everybody is and the fact that you're able to take away learnings and positives from it and just move on is a good place to be in, because, you know, it's not the end, you know, it still feels like the beginning. Yeah,
no, definitely. I think such a young squad we have. Kind of ridiculous to think at times. I think our average age is around 24, so it's an extremely young squad with a lot of time ahead. So I think, yeah, of course, it's always going to be disappointing, but look, there's plenty more days ahead. So yeah, not to dwell on it.
There's plenty more days ahead for sure, and so much cricket. And when you look at the landscape for women's cricket now and the expansion of franchise cricket, and also just, you know, you turn on the TV and you can watch all of the major tournaments. We can see you guys playing on Sky Sports, which is brilliant. For you, like, what's the future? Like, what's the goal?
Yeah, I think it's not something I've put a massive amount of thought into, to be honest. I think I just kind of keep taking each tournament as it comes. But I suppose long term, I want to play a lot for Ireland. I want to get 100 caps, things like that. That some players like Mary Waldron and Laura Delaney have done. I think that's probably one of the main goals. I think just to have a long career for Ireland and go to more World Cups, come away with more wins, compete with the best teams. Definitely, I think is just something that we can do and something I want to do a lot more regularly with Ireland. What
about the summer? What are you looking forward to most?
I think that tour against the West Indies definitely is one I'm looking forward to. I've never been, so it should be a great place to tour and a nice place to visit. What else? Australia, of course, are coming over. So that'll be huge. Nice to have them in Ireland again this summer and in Dublin. So hopefully it'll be some great days there and hopefully some big crowds out to watch.
How do you find all the travel?
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. I do. It's when I think back over the last kind of little while, we've been to some amazing countries. Pakistan, of course, stands out as a unique one to go to. Abu Dhabi, countries like that you really wouldn't really get to see without. Well, personally, without cricket, I wouldn't. So absolutely love traveling, and the places you get to see are amazing.
You're doing sport and exercise science in college, am I right?
Yeah.
So that kind of probably ties in nice with being a professional athlete as well. What you're learning there, you can use in your sports career.
It does, yeah, definitely. There's been a fair few modules that have kind of overlapped a lot. But
do you do assignments on yourself?
No, I don't. Yeah, something I definitely haven't done that. But no, yeah, it's definitely tied in at times. Looking forward to being finished and then cricket being the full focus.
Yeah, it sounds great. You've so much ahead of you, Orla. It's brilliant, and it's lovely chatting to you and hearing that maturity in you as well. It's amazing, but I guess you've probably done so much already in such a short space of time. Looking forward to seeing what you're going to be doing for the next, I don't know how many years, but there's plenty more of them to come. Orla Prendergast, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now I'm delighted to say that Nigel Jones, former Ireland cricketer and head coach of Leinster Lightning, joins me now for our Answer Me This segment. How are you, Nigel?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks very much for having me on.
Thanks so much for making the time. So how are you? How's life? What's life like for you right now?
Life at the moment is kind of gearing up for another, obviously, in-season with my Leinster Lightning squad based in Dublin. Also, I play a little bit still here where I live up in Northern Ireland. So, yeah, it's cricket overload at this time of year, but looking forward to it and getting prepped for the season ahead.
Yeah, it must be busy this time when you have to get all the planning done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of guys are all ready now as well to progress outside and get onto grass in terms of their training and playing. It's kind of from a winter phase. We do a lot of planning in that stage and guys are working hard at their games. And now it's kind of important that we transition as quickly as we can to grass and keep that enthusiasm and energy going as we get out into match phase.
So you've been in Ireland for such a long time now. Haven't lost the accent at all though?
Well, it's funny. Probably if you listen to me for long enough, you hear a little bit of Northern Ireland playing speaking in there. But yeah, I guess it's still quite strong. Probably, thankfully, as my wife would tell me.
Very good. We're going to get into it now. So if that's all right, we have some set questions that I'm going to put to you. Starting with what you enjoy most about cricket.
I guess for me, growing up where I did, given the accent in New Zealand, it was such a big part of my culture. Kind of number one sport in the summer, number two overall behind rugby. And I just, it sort of sort of captured my imagination, shall we say, at an early age. My father was really into cricket, got me into cricket that way and just enjoyed the way the game was. It's quite an individual game at times within a team setting. So to have both, it's like the best of both worlds in terms of a sport. You feel like you've got your own area to concentrate on as a player. And equally, if you do that well, then it all adds up to helping the team and things. And then progressing on in terms of coaching, I guess just the love of the game transitions across into that environment, and it's just something I really enjoy and like supporting guys with their own. Did you play other sports then growing up? Yeah, played a lot of rugby. I guess mad country for rugby, and grew up in Canterbury province, which is a very proud and strong sort of Crusaders territory in New Zealand with rugby. So a lot of friends would have played both cricket and rugby like I did growing up. So they were the two main sports, but certainly have had a fair bit of athletics and tennis and things like that. So that would have filled my days as a youngster. Who were your sporting heroes then when you were young? Probably in terms of cricket, Stephen Fleming was always someone that former New Zealand Black Cap captain, really successful captain. I just like the one thing about him, he was left-hander, very elegant to watch when he played, but he always came across as someone who invested a lot of time in his players and was a good man manager. And I guess depending on your DNA, you kind of sometimes align yourself a little bit to that. And I could sort of see some similarities or things that I hoped that I could bring in future years into my cricket, the way he went about things. So he was always pretty inspirational for me. Quite a few of the Australian Test cricketers as well, watching a lot of them across the water, like Sir Matthew Hayden and Ricky Ponting. They would have always been people. And then from a rugby point of view, actually Dan Carter, very similar age to myself, played a little bit rugby against him in cricket growing up. Was always really talented, and even he was similar age, you kind of always looked at him thinking, yeah, he's going places, and you were pretty impressed, even though he was your own sort of age profile. Yeah, it's good to have people like that and lots of people to aspire to. So tell me about your Ireland connection. What brought you here? Originally came over to the UK as an overseas player at club. I was in Scotland actually. Met my wife. She's from Lisbon here in Northern Ireland. She was studying at St Andrews University and then doing a master's at Napier in Edinburgh. So it was my second year across as an overseas player. I met her through a connection, a fellow Kiwi who was going out with a girl who was good friends with my now wife. So it's funny how you just meet, and that's 21 years later. So hard to believe.
Wow, that is it's quite a long time. All right, when you think that you're still playing cricket and coaching and still so involved in the sport too. Did you have like a perception of Ireland when you were growing up in New Zealand? Like, what did you know about Ireland cricket? Did you know about sport in Ireland?
Yeah, kind of. I guess the rugby I did. You know, being a big follower of the All Blacks, I remember the All Blacks playing Ireland a lot, and through the 90s would have sort of had a feel for the culture of rugby maybe in Ireland. But in terms of cricket, no, never really grown up thought there was much happening there. And it was probably only really until I went to Scotland playing as an overseas player that I kind of started to learn a bit more about Northern Ireland and Ireland in terms of them playing cricket. And in a way, by playing in Scotland, I felt there'd probably be a lot of similarities in terms of standard and pitches and facilities. So yeah, when the opportunity came to kind of come back to the UK and with my wife and to Ireland, I thought, well, I'll jump at that and take that opportunity. So that's kind of how it started. And then I got to learn a lot more as I was here.
And this is how it's going, is what they say. Yeah. So let's talk about club cricket in Ireland. What do you enjoy most about it?
I think there's a real community. I think that's the biggest thing about cricket in Ireland. And people that come across, from different parts of the world, Southern Hemisphere, to play as overseas players, it's one of the first things they comment on. The culture might not be as strong or as where we'd like it in terms of the sport. I guess it's ranked probably around that 5th, 6th mark, maybe in terms of overall on the island of Ireland. But, in terms of people that follow the sport here, there is a real community for it and a real love for it. There's a lot of history. The club I'm actually joining this year, Lisbon, they go back many, many years, well over 100 and something years old. And to actually see clubs like that, especially when I come from a country where there's not clubs that old at all, and yet it's such a big part of the culture. So for me, I've really enjoyed that community feel, and obviously the passion that is there that's running through everybody that's involved.
Away from cricket then, what does the perfect day look like for you?
Oh, interesting. My wife says, is there such a thing in terms of a day away from cricket? Look, I sort of eat, sleep and breathe the sport. So I try really hard if I can, when I can, to try and step back from that. But spending time with my kids, my wife, if I'm able to walk along a beach, have a cup of coffee and some sunshine, I'm pretty much ticking all the boxes I need to in terms of that. We were just back in New Zealand there for a recent holiday for 3 weeks, and that was a real check out of cricket. I had to try desperately hard not to think about it too much. I'll let the people take care of stuff while I was away. But yeah, just spending time with them and relaxing would be, I guess that's the stage of life I'm at too.
The simple things are the best things. So what's the best piece of cricket advice that you received that has helped you in your career?
I think the biggest thing was just be true to you and not try to copy too much. This thing about everything we do in life, I think we can take lots of good things from other people, and we can kind of shape that towards little bits that will help us. But again, you are unique and you're an individual, and it's just important that you try to understand yourself and get the best from you. So I try hard, to try and live by that. And that was sort of advice that I got from a really good coach growing up was, we just want you to be the best version of you.
Sounds good. I have some quick fire questions for you now. Mullets, nifty or naff?
Naff.
Sledging, part of it or park it?
It's a tough one. Probably on the fence a little bit. That has its place at times.
Okay, you can be on the fence for that one. Who is your favourite teammate in the Irish team?
Oof, that's a good question. I'm gonna get in trouble with saying anybody's name here. Lots of good friends that have come from that environment. Probably hung out with Andrew White a fair bit back in the day when I was in the team.
A song that you've played the most in the last month?
Ooh. I like Picture This in terms of band, so they get hammered a fair bit when I'm tied up in the kitchen. Can't think of a particular song, but like Picture This.
Movie that you've watched, that you've last watched and enjoyed?
Ooh. don't watch very many movies. Trying to scratch my head. Probably Avatar with my young man.
I love that the quickfire were more difficult than the cricket ones.
Nigel,
thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed that, and best of luck for the season ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening, and join us again in the next show to discuss the Interprovincial Series and Super Series. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, also rate and leave a review, as it really helps other fans find us. And if you have any questions, as always, you can email us at thegreenballshow@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to find an answer. Farewell for now.